Welcome to the Swing Trading with Cycles channel. It's February 7th, 2023. We're going to do an update on natural gas today. And we're also going to look at oil and UNG. And always take a look at for a pinned comment. You can look at the previous videos, kind of get up to speed. But yesterday we talked about how oil actually closed as a swing low. Natural gas did not close as a swing low, but oil did. And today natural gas did close as a swing low. Very, very positive action. So let's look at the daily chart. And again, take a look at that pinned comment, because if you don't, it'll give you there's an entire video about swing lows, how they form, how to think about them, and also swing highs, right? So this is your last swing high. And since that swing high, we've been declining. That's the idea. The swing high is how a downtrend begins. And so since that swing high, we've been trending lower and waiting for a swing low, right? This was a potential swing low, didn't work out. It obviously failed to new lows. This was a potential swing low, also failed. This at one point was a swing low. So kind of think about that. That's 1, 2, 3. I mean, that wasn't really a swing low on even a closing basis. 4. So you have at least 4 of these like false starts. So this could be number 5, right? So we knew we needed to cross above this candle here that marks the low on Friday, and we did that. We closed there, and so it is possible that this would be day 2 of a new daily cycle. The catch is this could just be a short little 5-day rally like this one, right? Or like this little rally, right? Or even this rally that was 11 days, but didn't really make a ton of progress. So that's important. But just to be clear though, this, like when people talk about just kind of averaging in, this is where you might want to start. And I'm not giving trading advice here. You have to know, you have to understand what your risk tolerance is, where you want to place your stops. Definitely want to use stops. But now it's at least stopped going down for a little bit, right? Like you don't buy it here while it's just cascading lower, or here while it's cascading lower. This is now an opportunity, and we're going to look at oil and UNG to look at those specific levels. So the next thing that we want to see is a move above the 10-day moving average. Again, this is your daily chart again. This is the 10-day moving average. You're going to want to see a move above it and then a close above it. Now, the 10-day moving average is declining every day. That's like because we're in a downtrend, right? And so right now, the 10-day moving average is at, what is that? 2.66 it seems. So that kind of gives you a sense. And so we're not that far from it, right? We're here at about 2.601. And then we want to see a move above the weekly high, right? So the same way we have a swing high on the day, we have a swing low on the daily chart by going above the low, above the high of the candle that marks the low. Now we're going to need to see that same thing on the weekly level. That's how it works. You get a move on a lower time frame, and if there's follow through, it cascades to the higher time frames. So that level for nat gas is 2.78. I talked about this same level on the video yesterday, because that hasn't changed. The high from last week is a high from last week. That's not going to change all week, right? It's really a question of are we gonna get that swing low, break above it? In the same way that we may have a daily cycle low, we might also have a weekly cycle low, right? Like this might be the end of this swing high right here on week 4 was the start of this massive downtrend that's lasted 10 weeks so far. So we rallied for 4 weeks, and then we've been declining for 10 weeks. In the same way that we had that swing high on the daily. That's a really important concept in multiple time frame analysis. But you do want to notice this week, right? Like this week actually closed above that week. So what is that? That's right, folks. It's a swing low. Right, so that was actually a swing low on the weekly. Instead of getting follow through, we got a move down the following week. And so that could be what happens here. So just because we get a weekly swing low doesn't mean we're sort of out of the woods, in the same way that the daily swing low can fail. And so if we look at the monthly chart, we also talked about this. These are all important levels to understand. Where did the monthly candle open? And that's important because if we can go above the open price for the monthly candle, all of a sudden the monthly candle goes from red to green. And that opening price was 2.730. So notice the weekly swing comes in at 2.78. So if we get the weekly swing, by definition, the month also goes green. So that's really bullish. And notice, what is this going to look like? That's how you want to start to kind of see it in your mind's eye. This is going to be a bullish green hammer. That's what it would be if we were able to get to, like, let's say 280. This thing would look like a bullish green hammer for February. And that's obviously bullish. Now, again, that doesn't mean we're going to have this huge rally back to all-time highs. It could fail on a monthly chart as well. So that's nat gas. And again, I also say really important to make sure that you're looking at the highest of time frames as well, and that's the yearly candles, the yearly chart. Every candle here is an entire year of price action. Every candle. So this is the entire year of 2022. Incredibly bearish because we had this massive rally, right? We were like, this was a big green candle at one point. Like, it was this long. I mean, think about that. And then we just failed, right? Like, we just came cascading lower. And so once we did that, the expectation was worst case scenario, well, not worst case scenario, but that we would come below the low of this candle, which is 2.414. And so that's what we did, right? Isn't that interesting? What was the low on this candle? 2.341. So we undercut this low by just a little bit. Think of that as like a combined pattern. If you combine this candle and this candle, it becomes an outside candle of this. Now, where things could get really ugly is if this candle and this candle combine to become an outside candle of these two. Because that obviously takes you below 1.44. I'm not saying that's where we're going by any means, but you want to understand that, right? Like again, think about that. Like, these two candles combine this whole price action. Imagine if this whole move gets erased by these two candles. Could happen. Going to be interesting. So we're going to have to take this one move at a time. Just because we have a little daily uptrend and maybe it even becomes a weekly uptrend, it still has work to do before it could become a monthly uptrend. So to be clear, we're going to eventually need to get back above this high here at 4.394. That's the high from January. Like, whenever we can do that, whether it's March, April, May. So that gives you a sense. We have quite a road to go. And on the yearly chart, we're going to need to get back above last year's high. And obviously, to get to this, back to this high, we're going to have to do that. And so let's move on to BOIL and UNG, and we'll also see if we can look at some lower time frame price action as well, because we didn't do that in the last video. So UNG, or BOIL and UNG, did the same thing actually. As I said yesterday, actually did close as a swing low. So we closed making Friday your, oh right, drawings are back on. Making Friday your potential short-term low. Notice it's also still not above its 10-day moving average, but now it got follow through. We talked about this on the video. You want to, first you need a swing low, and then after the swing low, by definition, I mean, this should be obvious, you need follow through. And that's what we're getting so far, right? But obviously it needs more, something like that, right? Maybe there's a little consolidation and then another move higher, right? Something like that. Even if this rally is going to peter out in 5, 6, 7 days, could still get some decent upside. Again, we would expect we're going to close above the 10-day moving average first, and then maybe get a few more days up at least. I mean, that's assuming this is even a bearish cycle. It's also entirely possible that we'll roll over. And now, and this is important, and this will go for natural gas itself as well, and I'll go back to that so we can know the exact level. We want to hold above the low from this candle. This is our candle for today, Tuesday. So that low is $6.26. It's really simple, right? We don't want to see a candle do this. Once you've done that, bad news, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, right? Because if it does that, that's a lower low. That's not good. That's a bad news. So that's a logical, like, zone where, well, obviously your stop could go somewhere around there, right? Like, if you're below 626, you know, this swing low is probably going to fail. This swing low is at 555. So the bottom tick for BOIL is 555. So think about that as, if you break below 629, you're probably going to break below 555. And so one could pull the ripcord. So that's a big warning sign you're going to want to look for. And again, we talked about previous video, like same thing. We're going to want to see a weekly swing next, which is very feasible. That's a move above 787 for BOIL. Let's go back to natural gas and just see what the low was today. So the low today was 2.501. So that becomes a level that you're going to need to stay above. And remember, this is our first day having a swing low, whereas for BOIL, this is actually day one of follow through. So it's a little bit of a different situation, but you still don't want to start making lower lows on the daily chart. That's a big no-no. And for UNG, that level we want to stay above is 849. That's the low from today. We cross below that, that tells you we might be about to break that bottom tick of $8. I mean, that's so interesting. I mean, that's a nice psychological level too, right? Like it made a new all-time low at exactly $8. I guess that's not super surprising. And the weekly swing level for UNG is 946. And you can see with UNG, it's actually it's getting closer to becoming that green hammer candle that natural gas may become if it gets more follow through. So that's really interesting. Then again, that kind of gives you a little bit of a preview. And the monthly swing level for this guy is, wow, 1341. So it doesn't mean we get there, but what it tells you is we have to get there if we're going to make a long-term bottom. And so it gives you a sense of where we might see some resistance. What about the monthly swing on Boyle? So the monthly swing on Boyle is 1573. What kind of upside is that from here? Ooh, that's 100%. Nice. So those are your clear levels, and at least now there's a leg to stand on. There are clear risk points. We're gonna have to see how far this bounce can go. We'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.